Call the meeting order. We begin with a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're moving along. 3.0 on the agenda is the approval of the official agenda. We need a motion and a second.
We need to
Okay.
take two things out of the agenda. The roof payment, that bill is incorrect, and so we're not going to act on it tonight. And the other one is the MOU with SK Mental Health, and they have not sent it to me yet. So both of those are off for tonight.
Okay. Everybody okay? Motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Yay.
And opposed. 4.0, it's time to reorganize the new board. So the election of the president of the board.
I make a motion to elect David Stewart as the president of the board.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, anything else? All right. We have motion second for David to be elected president. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Yay.
And opposed. Okay, and election of the vice president.
I make a motion to elect James Wood as the vice president of the board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion second for James as the board's vice president. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Yay.
And opposed. David, you take it?
All right. Brian's gonna step out on us.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you.
I will be back,
See you.
hopefully.
Good luck.
We'll move on and approval of the consent agenda. This is an action item.
It's quite lengthy this month because we have all that beginning of the year stuff. So you see the designation of banks, some of the officers in the district, road commission board members. We have those resolutions, the GAP, the general accepted principles. We're actually doing that one for this year and for last year, so that it will be in place when we get our auditors here. We forgot to have it on last year. The rescinding of the policy statements found in board minutes, the dates and times of board meetings. Is there anything, I can't remember, Gina, on that one, was there something we need to let them know about on those board meeting dates? We went ahead and scheduled one for that end of June for that business meeting at the end.
Yeah, nothing really about the board. We just had hypothetically talked about that we felt like it worked really well to have the July meeting the third week instead of the second because of how close it is to that end of year meeting. But unfortunately that date, or not unfortunately, but that date will fall beyond your range, so.
Okay. Home rule, of course, anything that's not in law or policy. We have home rules to be able to make decisions about that. Destruction of records, setting fees for copying records, mileage reimbursements, and school fees. School fees, there's no change in those from the previous year or the year before that. So,
Can I ask a question about that? Do we still have the ability to waive those fees on the free and reduced?
We do. We're gonna talk a little bit about that free and reduced and household survey, how that's gonna come into play a little bit later.
Okay.
But yes, we do have that
All right.
capability.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda?
I'd make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been a motion and a second. Vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? little rusty at this, I'm sorry. I'll get into it here in a little bit. Let's move on. 6-0, the recognitions.
Let's start with the lady of the hour here. So Connie, if you can step up here. So Connie has worked in the district for 42 years. She's worked for 8 different superintendents. Who knows how many different other administrators have been through the district during that time? A couple?
A couple, yeah.
Anyway, she just has been kind of one of those threads, the common threads that has kept everything rolling here at the district office. And so Connie, we appreciate very much your 42 years in the district. This is your retirement gift along with, you don't have to share that with Gary.
Oh, good, I like that.
And go shopping here in town
All right, I can do that.
and do whatever you'd like.
Okay.
So we wish you the very best in your retirement.
Thank
and
you very much.
Thank you again for everything
Thank
you've
you
done
for the
for the
wonderful
district.
reception, it's been very nice. And
Yeah, well, we got to see some people we hadn't seen
That's
for a
right,
while
that's right,
ourselves,
yeah.
so
yeah,
that was great.
Almost old timers.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, we also have some summer school staff we'd like to recognize tonight. So Katie Chipman. Katie, if you would come up here, please. So Katie was one of the paras that worked at the middle school, I believe. But she started out as the secretary. And then she was, and then you were, did you do any teaching too?
No,
You
I
did
just-
just about everything. She was, whatever we needed, she was willing to do. And it was just great having Katie here and just all the different things she did to make summer school happen over there at the middle school. So thank you. You're our July classified staff member of the month. And go get some drinks at Sonic on us.
Thank
So,
you very much.
all right. Thank you, Katie. And Nikki Regan. So Nikki, she coordinated all the extended school year for all of our special ed kids. She coordinated the teachers, the paras, made sure they were all doing what they needed to do. How many different paras and teachers did you have in and out throughout the course of all that time?
Was it 6 teachers and, I wanna say 16 maybe? Yeah, we had 84 kids.
And it probably changed about every day on you, didn't it?
Yes.
And Nikki usually teaches at the high school. She taught preschool ESY. So it was so
Free
fun
K and K,
watching
yeah.
her come in with them at breakfast and herd them through the line. And anyway,
It was fun.
Nikki, I really appreciate everything you did and all the extra effort you went to make extended school year be a great time for our kids. So thank you and don't have a couple of drinks on that. So, thank you. I think we got your pictures already, so thank you for being here tonight. You're welcome. Yeah, no.
Move on to the student recognition.
We want to do the All-Star Award video.
Okay.
So Scott just stepped out, but we have, our high school was honored as an all-star high school, and just thought I would play the short video of what was presented at the state board meeting about
Oh,
that.
the first day that we signed
So, I'll let Gina.
for Monday.com, our department was already able to connect our processes, our software, actually every.
We've been participating in the Apply Kansas events for the past several years now. We feel that the events are very valuable to our seniors, and our seniors feel like they're also very relevant to what they're needing.
I think all of the all-star events are great for our kids. Apply Kansas gets them started with help to apply to colleges. The FAFSA work night's probably most appreciated by the parents because they could use help and advice and just encouragement.
We held our Apply Kansas Day in October, where we reserved our school library so all seniors wanting to fill out college applications could do so in a space during school hours with the support of myself and other staff members to help them with any questions that they had. Of course, they got all of the Apply Kansas swag, and we took pictures of them with pennants and celebrated them on our social media pages. This event gave our students time during the school day to complete what could be a daunting task with the support of staff members.
For our Apply Kansas Day, our seniors were able to come out and participate. We had Employee State University and Flint Hills Technical College come out to help us to get kids to complete applications, and there were kids who applied
That night.
This year, Olathe South hosted our FAFSA completion night, where we brought over 13 different financial aid experts from local colleges and universities to assist our students and families in navigating the confusing process that is the FAFSA. This was an awesome opportunity for students and families who are unfamiliar with FAFSA to have assistance navigating the process, but also start connecting with representatives from their future schools.
So one of the all-star events that we wanted to highlight was our college signing day with our students, and we had several of our most recent graduates sign on to different colleges. But what made that signing day special and possible for our students was we did a campus-wide college visit day where we had all 72 of our students go and experience a college of their choice to be able to go and gain those new experiences. And those opportunities allowed for those students to actually come back and take part in those signing days.
We have a signing day for every one of our seniors and whatever it is their choice is for their post-secondary plans. So maybe it's a four-year university, a two-year community college, the military, a mission for their church. Maybe they're going into the workforce. They have a table set up to honor that choice that they've made and that commitment that they've made for post-secondary. They get to be honored at that, and they sign a contract with their mentor that they've had for the year that says, I'm not giving up, I won't quit. I know that I still have a partnership with you after graduation. You'll continue to check on me.
I think that my favorite event is the senior signing day event. On this day, we bring all the students to the auditorium and we get to celebrate the seniors' next steps. This might be college-bound seniors who maybe sign one of these pennants up here. It might be students going into the workforce or seniors going into the military. Whatever their next steps, we want to celebrate all their hard work and dedication.
The senior signing is the one that the kids enjoyed the most. I struggle getting kids to get things done all year long. Senior signing, they all got done in 2 days. Now, I just have them do a Google form that tells me their plans. I print off logos, they sign the logos and put them on the bulletin board.
We really feel like all the events that we do for Apply Kansas are so important to our students because they need that assistance getting through the FAFSA process. They need the assistance of applying for colleges. There's so many different things that all of us have questions for on that.
College applications and financial aid applications can be a little confusing and overwhelming. These events help provide school and community support for our students and their families to work through the applications and answer any questions that they might have. Not only do these events prepare our students, but celebrate their commitment to continuing education.
This is our first year to be an all-star school. We feel like providing our students with academic opportunities that build on their strengths, enabling them to make informed choices about the possibilities after high school, as well as surrounding them with people who cheer them on, should be our top priorities. I'm so blessed to be part of a team that celebrates students every step of the way.
We are happy to be Apply Kansas participants, so we get a lot of value out of it.
In order to be considered an all-star school, we had to have done some of those activities. I just thought it'd be good for you to kind of hear a little bit about what other districts and things were doing in order to meet those requirements to be an all-star school. That was the Kansas Board of Regents, by the way. I said KSDE, but it was the Kansas Board of Regents that honored those schools. So, anyway, that's all of our recognitions.
All right, board member acknowledgements. Anybody have anything they want to acknowledge tonight? move on. Leadership reports. Destry, your superintendent report.
Forget that. Just wanted to let you know that the Safe and Secure Schools grant, we were able to be awarded that grant. Not completely everything we asked for, but it was pretty close. And so U-234, we received 36,000 and a little bit and some change that we'll be using for additional cameras on the outsides of the buildings. We'll be putting walkie-talkies, two-way radios within the schools, and purchasing those. And what was the third thing I applied for? That film on the front of the high school.
Bulletproof film.
As soon as, so Peerless has been out. They checked the measurements and everything of that, and are going to get with us on what that would cost to do that. So hopefully those things will all get taken care of. We also received the mental health intervention team program grant, and what that means is they are providing us money to hire a social worker that would be a liaison between the mental health and schools and families to make sure that kids are getting to their appointments, that if they need help accessing mental health, that's what that liaison will be doing. We'll be the second district in Southeast Kansas to have this grant. So Chanute has had it the last 2 years, and he told me that person, that they did a great job with that, and SEK Mental Health loved the work of that person as well. So we're looking forward to that. I printed off and forgot to bring in, are you going to talk about accreditation? Nope, I'll leave it to you. You did the work. So I don't have anything else for my reports.
All right, Delana?
Well, the first thing being the accreditation. We knew that in June that was recommended to the state, but on the 11th the state did approve our fully accredited status. So we are glad to have that in place and begin planning for this next cycle. Taking the approach for this next cycle a little differently than what we saw last time, and making sure that we've got those systematic approaches to bringing voices to the table and setting those goals. And so we've started working with Destry and with Tanya to start looking at some of those goals, and excited to bring those items to you. Next week we've got a group of teachers that are going to the Educator Wellness. PLC puts on this seminar every year, and it allows educators to take a step back and focus on themselves and how to rejuvenate themselves and avoid burnout. So we've got a group from the Wellness Committee that is going to go attend that. And the nice thing about that is that they get ideas to bring back and then use in the Wellness Fair and share with the whole staff. So last year that was very successful, and the staff were very receptive, so we're excited to get to send another group. We also have a group that is going to a PLC Institute, so some folks who haven't had a chance to attend yet will get a chance to go and listen to some of those speakers and hopefully better lead their teams as we move into this next year. And then Tanya and I will be attending the SPED and Title Services Conference in Wichita, and she'll be doing all things SPED and I'll be doing all things Title, and hopefully we come back a little smarter than we are today. So we're excited to see what they have to offer us. We've finished up the mentoring outline. Hopefully the state will get that approved for us and we can move forward with that. We've used Greenbush, and there have been some gaps just because it's not specifically personalized to us and our needs. And so we're hopeful that we're taking a lot of their structures, but then we're also adding in items that are very specific to Fort Scott. And on August 8th and 9th, we will have new teacher orientation with those staff members. So Krista Gorman will be on a cruise, so she got out of it this year, but Susan Darnell and I will be working with building administrators and Destry and Tanya to bring those staff in and make sure that they are comfortable before they have to get started with their year, and that they have access to everything they need. So that's always a fun time to get to really know them a little bit better than what we already have.
Something I forgot, David, was our district, all students will be free lunch for this year. So our number of students who are at free lunch as direct certified coming from, because they qualify for Medicaid. Our numbers warrant that we can give everyone free lunch, and so everyone will be getting a free lunch. But on the other side of that, we'll have to ask everybody to fill out that economic survey, and Gina's going to talk about that. But we'll need to do that in order to keep our at-risk funding like it has been. So there's free lunch. We need to get our participation up. We believe we have some things in place to get our participation up so it won't end up costing anything for the district to do that. And I think it's going to work out and be a good thing for our families.
Learning about all this. I've never had to use a microphone before. Usually I'm pretty easy to hear, but hello, am I on? Okay. This will be short and hopefully sweet. Last week we had a job fair. There were 22 people that came and participated in that, and we've held 8 interviews so far, and I think we have 6 para positions currently, so I think we're going to be able to start the year fully staffed. And then there were enough that I'm going to be contacting people about becoming subs for the para positions, and then Robin Button is going to join in on that regarding subs for the food service, and then Dan for subs for the custodians. So we had lots of enthusiasm. The whole team is to be commended. I could not have done it without Dan and Gina and Hannah. It was just really, really good. So hopefully we'll have another one. And I was excited. I want to welcome Candace Job. She wasn't able to be here tonight. She's our new Special Education Secretary and MIS clerk. She started today. And I've already given her several tasks, and she's on it. And I'm excited. And I'm setting up a special ed leadership team for this coming school year. And the principals are selecting staff who they want to participate in that. And this will be a rotating team. Every year we'll have new members start. So we'll have an organization meeting in August, and we'll get rolling. So as you can see, my report is in your packet, and it's a very busy time in special ed. We've got to get all that money rolling in the door. So that all starts right now. So do you have any questions for me? Okay, thank you so much.
Gina?
So my report's just a little bit of everything. First off, we did get an update from Mitch at SEK Financial. Something we rolled out, I think, in 2019 was a match plan for our employees. And so we were running, I think, 67% participation. We're now at 92% participation, which is huge. I mean, we had hoped to maybe get to 80%, but we're just seeing a lot of positive from that program for our employees as they are allowed to save for retirement. So to have 338 people of the district participate in that's pretty amazing. So secondly, final cash balances. And so I included in your packet, one more thing on the match plan. So something else that's part of that is a forfeiture account. And so that's something that when people are not vested, that rolls into an account for the district. And the intention of that is after that accumulates over several years, then you could potentially use that to pay your match plan for a year. So it's just another tool that we can utilize to help make our district better. Cash balances, so I included, there's a really big balance sheet report in there, or fund balance report, and then I did include today something called an unencumbered cash balance report, and that's something that typically I've given to you with the budget, and you'll be able to see your cash balances, and this is your finalized. So on June 27th when we had that meeting, we were anticipating this is what our close down will be. These are your final numbers. And the variations, we had one reclass from capital outlay that was about $30,000 that should have went into contingency. And so when I tied out balances, we moved that. And then interest from KMIP, I thought when I said the interest number, I thought, gosh, that sounds a little bit low. It was too low because KMIP wasn't in there. And so that was about $70,000. So our total interest that we gained this year was $126,000, which is a little bit better. I still think we can do better than that, and hopefully we can do that. And then also KDHE grant, which is that test to stay grant that we put in place a couple years ago, has kind of evolved through time. And we were able to, Tanya and I talked, and we talked about our nurses, and went ahead and moved those over to that grant. So that allowed more money to stay in your contingency account. So anyway, those are the variances, but this shows you kind of where we lay. In addition to that, just as far as an update on ESSER 3, we're right at spending of $1 million now. We have a little more than $3 million left. Now after payroll hits tomorrow, into those accounts, you're gonna have a lot less than that, because that's 3 weeks of your summer school pay. So that'll be a little bit more. And then finally, what Destry alluded to in his discussion about free lunches for kids. So a couple years ago, we were under the household surveys, and that's because everybody ate free summer food service program. So we have now, under this new program with food service, we're gonna need to go back to that survey in order to get our free count for our weightings. And those weightings are really important for us because they drive our at-risk weighting, they drive our title funding, and they can affect your E-rate funding. So we get an 80% discount on those internet services. That's all factored in because of your free count. And so we're going to be doing some communications on that. Luckily, we've hired in the last month a communications person, and so they'll be able to take what we already had and then modify and update that and push that information out. So for parents in YouTube world that watch our meetings, we would just ask for your help with that. For us as a district, we really want to protect that funding level while still being able to provide food and meals free for our families. But we just don't want to have that affect our other areas. So at-risk funding for us is over $2 million. And so it's just a really big number for us. So you'll start seeing that communication. You guys that are on Facebook, if you would please share it and promote that and tell your coworkers. We'll send out information to staff. Our staff has always been very good at supporting us in those endeavors. So if you did enrollment, you would have filled out that survey already, but.
That's what I was gonna ask. And you may not be the person, what are enrollment numbers looking like so far? It's pretty new, but pretty early.
As of this morning, we had a few over 700 different families.
So
that
that's
have
pretty good.
enrolled.
Okay, better than I anticipated. Okay, great.
And I think our free count right now is sitting at like 973, which is a little bit higher than where we ended at with the audit last year. But as those enrollment numbers come in, that's going to, could affect that if you have someone change in status. So, so anyway, that's all that I have.
Any questions for Gina? We'll move on to new business. The Happy Kids lease agreement. Destry, you gonna talk about this?
There's no change from last year. We're at 115,000. Part of that holds slots. We're at 115,000. Part of that holds slots for kids that we need to get into daycare options. So it's the same as it was before. That's all paid through the preschool Kansas KPP, Kansas Preschool Program. So, but eventually, as I've told you in the past, we'd like to get to where we're keeping all that in-house and keeping it in the district. So, but right now we're still needing to use Happy Kids, and we'll have 2 sections of preschool over there again this year.
I move we approve the 23-24 lease agreement with Happy Kids Daycare.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All those opposed, same sign. Still carried. Thank you. 9.2, let's talk about setting a date for the budget presentation, the revenue neutral hearing and the budget hearing. This is an action item.
So we've presented the following timeline for you that would require 2 special meetings in August. One to present the budget and information, which that's the one that we would encourage our community to come to the most, because that helps you understand how the budget is prepared and why we build the budget a certain way. And then following with on August the 28th, we would hold essentially 2 special meetings. The 5:30 would be the revenue neutral hearing, followed directly by the budget hearing. So, and that is the meeting where community has the opportunity to weigh in on those 2 items. And then finally, we would turn around and certify it to the state. You cannot have a budget adoption or a revenue neutral hearing before the 20th of August because you need to give your county time to send out those notifications.
I'll move that we approve those dates and times and places.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to 9.3, revenue neutral declaration to clerk.
So we would like to let the clerk know that we are not going to be at revenue neutral. Now, one of the reasons is we are going to be moving, we have to start making payments on that lease purchase for that HVAC equipment at the high school. And so that will be an additional $500,000 that we'll be spending each year for a while to pay on that. And so anyway, we won't be at revenue neutral. Our mill levy will stay the same. We'll be shifting some levies around. We're going to drop some out of bond and move into capital outlay so that we can use that to make the payments on that lease. And then we'll see from there. But I will say that our percentages of state aid went up this year. So we have a greater percentage of state aid coming to us from as far as their match through capital outlay and through bonds. And so until we get that budget built and everything, I'm just going to say our mill levy is going to be flat. We know it's not going to go up for sure. So it will be worst case scenario, it'll be flat. Best case scenario, we might be able to drop a little bit, but not till we get all of our numbers in there, take it up to Topeka and have them take a look at it and talk us through all that. So, do you have anything you want to add to that, Gina?
The only thing I'll add is that, and it's not really, it's a part of our budget, but they have their own separate board. So on Rec Commission, which when our taxpayers get their notices on revenue neutral, it's going to say USD 234, and then it will say recreation. That one's going to look like it has a really big jump, but that's because of 2 years ago when the error was made, and they had overcharged on that mill levy. Then last year we reduced it way back and used the cash. So this year they're returning their mill to their normal rate. And so I just wanted to provide that heads up, but when they get those statements, it's going to look like a large increase in that particular fund. But that's just part of that correction. So other than that, we provided you some analysis in there that you can look at if you needed to. The only other thing industry had pointed it out to me is, we're required to allocate 20 mills to the state funding. And so we can't be revenue neutral on that. I think the revenue neutral rate is 18 point something. And so, by default, we're not legally allowed to charge a lesser rate in that fund. And so that's something to also consider as part of that, that mill.
I make a motion that we certify to the county clerk the tax rate for the new year in the amount of 32.765 mils plus the required 20 mils to the general fund.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Move on to 9.4. Fort Scott High School Social Studies AP and dual credit resources.
So this school year, we will be renewing resources for social studies. This first one are for some paperback books that we utilize for our AP and dual credit courses. Unfortunately, the paperbacks don't last as long as some of our other resources. So this will provide the materials needed for world history, U.S. history, as well as U.S. government.
We bought several books in the last few months, haven't we?
We were doing science books.
Okay. Are
from
we
the
about
last year.
done on purchasing books for the year?
So this is actually starting next year's
Okay.
cycle. But yes, our science materials, we are to that place where we are wrapped up with them. And we will see some additional science resources in terms of lab items that may be coming through, just because that was their request, was to go ahead and allow them a second year to analyze what they would need. change in mindset in how we were approaching that. Rather than just getting by, we want to make sure that students have the opportunity to do those hands-on experiments.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion for this?
I move we approve the purchase from Perfection Learning in the amount of $2,299.41.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Looks like that carried. 9.5, the HS MAP assessment and the professional development.
So we approved iReady assessments for our students in K through 8. Secondary folks have chosen to stay with MAP as their assessment tool. So you will find all 4 grade levels for ELA, math, and science would be assessed through MAP. And this will also provide additional professional development for those staff members.
I'm sorry again. Did we have a conversation about this last month too with the MAP?
Yes, we talked about, because MAP will no longer be given K through 8. And so it was taken away for those students.
Okay.
Last year we spent how much on that?
$23,663.
So essentially, we're cutting in half.
A little more than half.
half.
We have
Well, with professional development, it ends up about half, but after this year, it'll be less than half.
Okay.
I move we approve the purchase of the contract with NWA in the amount of $11,720.
I'll second.
James.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 9.6, contribution to core communities.
So we talked about this back in June with you, and we were able to secure that we were able to do this without any problem out of our general fund and support that community program.
Is this the program that was Communities in Schools?
No, this is the program that Bill Michaud was here
Okay.
to talk about.
Gotcha. Very good.
About getting
The
people out of
mentors
poverty
program and
stuff like
yeah,
that.
things like that. Very
Correct.
good.
Sorry,
No, a lot of the same names.
yes, they do have. That one's called Spark Wheel now.
Okay. I knew it changed. I'd make a motion that we approve the contribution to community care or core communities.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the contribution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we will move on to 9.8, facility use for the Flag Church. Is Gina talking about this?
I will have Gina talk about it. The reason that this is coming to you as a facility use is because this happens to also be the church that I attend. And so Gina worked with them on pricing and what that would be. I think in the past, there have been some churches that have used the buildings, and so, Gina, I'll let you talk from there.
So part of, excuse me, part of the fee schedule that you approved has some facility use terms to it. And so they're going to utilize the middle school, some on Sundays and then on Wednesdays evening. And so that calculation is straightforward on that second page of that agreement. And then we've just set up a facility use request for that, so that way everything's lined out, and we can, take care of that kind of thing. They'll take care of custodial. We're not going to have a custodian. There will always be a USD 234 employee there on the premises, and so you're not going to have to worry about keys and not having that supervision. So.
Destry, you did mention that we've had other churches use our facilities in the past.
Yeah, years ago, I know Community Christian started, and I think they started at the middle school over here when it was over there. And of course, I went to church there too, so I don't know between then and now. But I will say Flag is looking for a place that would be a permanent solution, so it could be that it wouldn't be for a long period of time, but it may be up to a year.
The Wednesday nights, does that conflict with any of the extracurriculars that we have?
So any time that there would be a conflict, then they would not have church on that night.
Yeah, very good.
We would retain, yeah, our priority order, I guess you could say.
Okay.
To my knowledge, Danny, you can maybe reflect on this. I don't think we've ever charged churches to use our facilities.
We did talk about that because a lot of our other nonprofits might meet there occasionally, but they were gracious enough to offer to pay some rent for the space.
That was another reason I did not, because I think that was
Calculated twice.
the precedent from the past, that I did not want that to be, oh, well, his church gets to use it for free, but we charge the Nazarene church to use the high school this fall or this winter for their youth conference. And so I just felt like that we needed to, and they're fine with paying a
We
rate.
did charge the Nazarene Church.
We did, when they used the high school for their big youth conference, that was regional, they brought in kids from all over the whole state area, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think consistency is important in those types of things. That's good.
Do we have a motion for the facility use request?
I move we approve the facility use request for Flag Church for the attached fee schedule and MOU.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for the facility use request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So we'll move on to 9.9, the substitute pay schedule for 2023-24.
So, we're wanting to give our subs a little bit of a raise as well as everybody else, and so, it's at the bottom of that sheet, I believe. And so the subs, teacher sub would be at $120 per day. If they're a retired teacher, they'll get a little bit more than that because they've worked with us, they already know kind of our system. They would get $127.50 a day. If they're a long-term sub and it's after 10 days in a position, they would get $135 a day. Now that will also be figured on an hourly rate, but we're trying to get ourselves to a point where we're starting to think half day, full day, and not by hours and that sort of thing. We're going to be implementing a new new employee absence and substitute software in the district, and so this just will make it easier for us as we transition into that. Is there anything else you want to say about that, Gina?
Not really. I mean, your classifieds are always tied to their base of that position, so they by default, come up when you raise that base. And so it's been since before I was here that our substitutes have had an increase. And although we were still competitive, I think it's good to reward those because we have substitutes that teach for us year after year after year, and they're definitely, we couldn't function without them.
I have a question in the language. The long-term subs, when you say 10 days in the same position, we mean, can you help me clarify that a little bit? It's not after their 10th day subbing in our district.
No.
Right.
Somebody has a baby.
Right, no, I mean, I just want to make sure that that's clear. I mean, in my
Yes.
experience with other districts, they treat that differently.
Yes.
And they can treat that on your 11th day of subbing, you become a long-term sub.
And we used to do that. We would give, we
Okay.
were at like $12.25 an hour, and we went up to $15.79 after 10 days. And when COVID hit, we had such a struggle. Our sub pool was even less than what it normally was. And so we waived that. They just immediately started making that $15.79
Okay.
to try to get people in the door.
Very good.
And so that 10-day thing can be a lot of tracking if you don't
Sure.
do it correctly. It can add a lot of time involved for that, so.
The criteria during COVID too was just a high school education to sub, right?
They did have a teal license that came out, and you could do under a high school education. Is it still in place? Okay, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Otherwise, your typical emergency sub is 60 college hours, I think. So yeah, anybody that would like to sub, we can plug that right there. Please come work for us.
Well, and I think
But if
these are
they're
very
in-
competitive.
But if they are an emergency sub, if they don't have the 60 college credit hours, then they can't substitute a certain number of days. They can only go so many days in a semester, and then
So there are
have
limitations.
to wait till next semester. So it's quite a few days, but
Mhm.
they can't be full-time.
Well, these rates are very competitive, and I think that will be helpful for us in getting subs in the district. They're very competitive.
Any other discussion on the substitute pay schedule? Is there a motion?
I move we approve the substitute pay schedule.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for the substitute pay schedule. James? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll move on to the public forum. Dan? All right, then we'll move on to 11.1.
By the way, since you mentioned Dan, I just want you to know, when the electricity was off the other night, on Friday night, he and Brian Poole and Stephen Mitchell were all here loading out stuff, putting it in this freezer. It was about midnight when I got home, and so they were here working, trying to keep all our food safe, so appreciate that. Want to recognize him.
I mean, the Generacs, were they working really well? They were running at the high school and stuff. Really?
They aren't large enough, so we're purchasing one more for the district, and with the intent that eventually we'll have every building with one that is large enough to run those freezers.
Good. Wonderful. Great.
Hopefully no more power outage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, enter executive session then. I move that the board goes into executive session to discuss the employment of personnel for the 2023-24 school year pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and for the open meeting to resume in the boardroom at
5 minutes, I don't have much.
No, I feel like you read that.
All right. Let's go.
10.
Yes, 6:27. And the board invites Delana, Gina, and Tanya?
Yeah.
And Destry.
Second.
We don't want to vote on that.
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
Okay, we got a motion and a second? I did.
He did.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, I'll make the motion. I move, we approve the employment items as presented on the personnel report, pending a background check, completion of pre-employment training and paperwork, and interview with the superintendent.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second for the personnel matter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, carried. Looks like 12.0, we're gonna adjourn this meeting.
Well done.